that we still deal with. So I have a problem with making this elite sign go away at the Calhoun Township's cost. Richard Sabias is the one who signed the complaint at the Eddies in 2015 when me and my wife were purchasing the Eddy property. And Mr. Whelan was the only one who complained, your friend. So Richard Sabias said it was a letter he signed created by Attorney Bach. So it's no different. It's a buddy system. The buddy system needs to end in this township. And I truly mean that. It's gotta. It's a joke. I came in here to get this off of my taxes in December 12th. You sent me to Melissa to get it off. I was in the Board of Review room waiting to speak to the Board of Review. Just what my wife asked me to do. You said don't pay it. We didn't pay it. Now we're going to get penalized because we didn't pay it. So it needs to be removed, and we should have been on the agenda 3 times now. And Melissa's answer to me today, when I said, why aren't we on the agenda? I don't make it, you know that. So you make it. People ask you to put stuff on the agenda, Sam. You do everything at your will, not the people's will.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Rick Fletcher, previously 557 South Linwood Beach Road. Thank you for looking at this again, but I still don't know what's happening with it. You haven't said yes, no, go to heck, or whatever, but my biggest concern is that you're charging for services that you didn't provide. I did not use your sewer system. I'm being billed for the sewer system. You need to take care of it. It's actually called malfeasance, if you want to look it up. So I guess I know it's not a question and answer, but what's happened? I need to wait for a letter, I need to wait for an email. This is now going on a couple months. You know, so that's all I'm gonna say about it. If someone wants to answer me, that's great. I thought you should have answered me in the correspondence part. But if that's you, if you're good with taking money for services you don't provide, and that's what you want to run on, I'll be more than happy to promote you for that. Thank you.
Many residents in this township pay for
Yep.
sewer, they don't use it.
Yep.
Many residents do, and I'm not justifying your situation, but I'm telling you there's a minimum sewer charge, and many people are actually paying.
I got
for
there's a
sewer
minimum
charges.
sewer charge. That's all part of maintaining
Yeah,
infrastructure.
I got that.
That's in
I'm
every
just saying,
single state,
as a
city in
whole.
the United States.
Not everybody.
You knowingly took money for services you didn't provide. Period. Straight on the letter. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jeff Ruhlholtz. I'm from 1640 South Huron Road. I sent in a FOIA, and I'm just wondering when I'm going to hear something back from that. It's been a while now.
They were working on it today. It can't be more than 5 days, or do we put an extra 10 on it because of the
I sent
election?
you an email saying that we were
I
going
didn't
to use the
receive
right.
no, received no email.
I can run you a copy of it.
All right, then, thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing none, we'll move forward. Well, we've dealt with the insurance. Fire insurance withholding. I sent, you all got a copy of several pages that the fire department has put together. In a nutshell, what that amounts to is there's apparently the state has an area that if we open up an escrow account and apply, that when we have a fire in our township, the insurance company has to hold back either $15,500 or 25%. Whichever, not more than $15,532.57 or whatever.
On residential. Commercial, it's flat 25. Residential, there's a cap.
Residential. And what that amounts to is that that goes in an escrow account, and the customer does not get that money back until he either fixes the house or tears it down and cleans it up. And if that house needs to be, that he's not going to clean it up, let's say it burned too far, and it needs to be cleaned up, then we don't have to go to court to use that money to clean up the house. So I see no reason that we don't join this state funding, and that apparently the insurance company has to automatically check and see if our name is on the list, and if they do, they have to automatically, the only thing we'd have to do is open up an escrow account to put the money in.
That's not the only thing you'd have to do. According to this, there's actually quite a few requirements of the municipality. Specifically, they have 15 days from the notice being received from the insurance company to respond to that request for the withheld amount to be paid into the escrow account. That response also has to be sent to the insurance company, the insured, any mortgagees, and the court, giving them 10 days from the mailing to object to the retention of the withheld amount. So there's actually quite a lot of notification requirements here in addition to having the escrow account set up. So who would be in charge of this?
Well,
Three different deals there, and ultimately someone on the board should be the supreme administrator of that program. Now, who administers that program, you can have, I believe, two more people, okay, in what capacity that they would have.
There's probably forms that need to be filled
Correct.
out.
There-
And so when there's a
Right here.
fire,
Right.
we probably should fill the forms out and then automatically mail them out.
Once you've completed the form, send it to the state with the chosen point of contact. I have roughly gone through the 725 municipalities that are currently functioning with this, as well as work in another municipality that does do this as well currently. So I'm familiar with the system. Again, yes, there is a procedure. We hadn't got into discussing the procedure. It was still at a 10,000 foot view, obviously. But of the information that I had gleaned from the state, it's kind of an even mix of elected officials, whether they be at a village level, a city level, and the titles kind of spread between supervisor, manager, treasurer, etc. And then it falls over into the fire departments as well, or building official, or fire chief / building official in some cases. The only two oddballs I saw was one place had a police chief doing it, and another jurisdiction had their DPW director. But for the most part, it's either gone to the board or...
In my opinion, the treasurer should be one on the escrow account.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
having a double signature on the checks that come out of the escrow account. But the other person has got to be someone who knows whether the building is being refurbished and is complete. Obviously, it don't take too much of a person to see if he tore it down, but we gotta make sure he just doesn't tear it down and shove it in the basement and then cover it up. So, I mean, or finish burning it. Like we had in Fraser.
We've never had that.
So, I mean, the second person, I think we'd have to take a serious look at on who we'd have to put on that.
Administratively, you could still say have the treasurer be the administrative end of it, but obviously procedurally, policy-wise, have whatever you choose, whether it's a code enforcement, a building inspector, fire chief, whoever, be the legwork, so to speak, the report originator or whatever, go check it.
Yeah, the way you set it up, I mean, your checks and balances are there. And I don't believe that would be an issue, that definitely have to have the treasurer involved because the escrow account that would be set up. But who would administer it, okay? Who would be the administrator and stuff? That's what you gotta look at.
Because obviously, there's a lot of different notices that need to be put out to several different parties, and there's deadlines on that as well. So is there a standardized form letter kind of thing that would just have to be addressed to each of those, and we would have to be sure that we had all of the information related to not only all the insureds, but all the mortgagees and...
as to the insurance companies, once we're on this list, it's generated to those insurance companies. So this was generated because the insurance company actually reached out to our office and was looking at some information on a fire and brought this up, and I did not know that we were not part of it yet. And they actually kind of forwarded to us and said, here you go, you should be. So once that the registration is generated, it goes to the Bureau of Insurance Financial Services, and then they issue that out to the insurance companies. So the conduit for communications is already established, and we have to set obviously our criteria, as you mentioned, have a criteria in place for receiving the funds, have a criteria in place for holding the funds, have a criteria in place for releasing the funds. And those are all essential forms.
I think it's something we should do.
You can pay out of those funds if the insured hires their own contractor and stuff, we can pay out of that. That's our budget deal too.
Tear it down.
Huh?
Not to remodel, to tear it down.
Tear it down, clean it up, do whatever. You can use those funds for the cleanup purposes or, whatever you're gonna do, but if he's got somebody else doing it, that's part of his funds. We can pay out of that. He would have to show, the insured would have to show us, who he's hired and the contract thereof, and stuff like that. But you can pay out of that. And anything left
We
over.
don't have a problem giving him his money back
Right.
if he can either fixes the house or
Yeah.
tears it down. So,
Essentially, we want to either
it ain't
give
our
it all
money.
back or,
Yeah.
let the insurance company
That's
play
why
it
it's
out.
in an escrow account and not in the general fund, so.
So I assume, since it specifically states that, if we receive, just $20,000 that we're holding in escrow for somebody, even if we end up holding on to that for 6 months or so, we're only going to return the $20,000, and whatever interest is earned remains
There-
in the escrow account. So obviously that would have to be something taken into consideration too. That revenue.
Yes, I was-
would
Most
repeat that.
escrow accounts don't pay interest.
Yes, I was reading through it, it did include that revenue can be interest bearing, and I went, okay, I was surprised to read that.
Yeah, found it to be an interesting addition as well.
I didn't even ask for the pay money.
You did?
And that's right out of the statute.
Yeah, it's very,
But it
it was a
can be.
potential note.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Well, the finance half would be treasury.
Well,
Because Melissa would have to set the account up.
right.
It's not like I'm going out to set it up, that wouldn't happen. So,
Well, you go set it up, you're not gonna get anything. But
I'm
Actually, no,
just
you
saying,
can't
I'm
set it
just
up.
saying,
That's
we
a
could
motion
set
from
it
the
up
board.
with two different people, but in my opinion, the treasurer would be the one, to be one of the people signing the checks, and in my opinion, we need a joint check signatures at the other end to pay it out.
I would say it would be the same as it is when we send out any type of a warrant from the township. It's signed by the clerk, it's signed by the treasurer, and why would we change our process? It's a good process.
Because the clerk or the treasurer probably isn't gonna know if he fixes the house.
That's where our zoning administrator would inform them of what happened with the home. I mean, that falls under zoning administrator.
We can appoint somebody after we decide that we're gonna do this or not. Or think about it as far as who we would appoint to review.
Why would it fall under these, out of curiosity, why would it fall under the zoning administrator?
Well, I would
It
think
could be anybody here.
zoning administrator is whenever there's a blight or a problem in a neighborhood. So you have a house that burned and it hasn't been taken care of. Somebody has to file, because we're a complaint-driven community. So they file the complaint. The complaint goes to the zoning administrator. Zoning administrator then notifies the office. or it comes to Shirley, Shirley notifies the zoning administrator.
Would it fall under the International Fire Code technically?
There is,
So the fire
There-
marshal?
Fire
I mean,
department.
You would not, I don't see where you would need the zoning administrator, okay? Unless you're appointing him to one of the
Just need
spots.
somebody to follow up to make sure the work's being done, it's being done. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be the zoning administrator, it could be you, Charlie.
Yeah.
That's true. It could
And with
be
it
you.
being an escrow account, you're not spending public funds the same way that you are normal bills, so you don't have to follow the same process. So if you wanted Melissa and an independent trustee, or Melissa and a fire marshal, or have the fire marshal report back to one of the independent trustees, you could have it be any independent trustee if you wanted, because one of you might be busy.
the state looks for one point of contact. I mean, obviously, we know how that works when you have, if you get, how things get delegated off often, but still the state
Oh, yeah, you
puts
have,
it to one contact.
you have a point of contact, but in the administrative end of it, and getting the job done, it's pretty much open.
And I don't think we even need to sign a complaint. If he doesn't
No.
tear the house down,
This is more
Dangerous bill.
streamlining the processes that you have to go through now.
There is areas in the International Fire Code, yes, that would be applicable.
Well, it helps you don't end up with it. Them two houses that burned up in County last year in October, one's still sitting there in the same shape it was when it burned down. This would eliminate that.
And I don't disagree with.
Well, I would agree
this whole
that it needs to
idea.
be passed. The problem is you don't pass something and not know how it's gonna be dealt with. And when it's just told to you just before you're gonna come to a meeting in the last 5 days, 4 days.
I think really
That's
right now,
why we
you
found
need
out.
to get your name on the list. And once your name's on the list, then you guys can decide who you're gonna have.
Junior, let me put that one straight for you. We got this, him and I. Within 2 hours, we were over to Sam, and that's when you guys got notified, so.
I was slow on getting things typed up, so that took another day, right, chief?
I'd make the motion that we accept this. That's not my issue.
Yeah.
My issue is then for it to be facilitated, to go forward. Because if we're gonna accept it and we're just gonna stamp it and nothing happens, then it's about as worth the toilet paper.
Totally agree.
Would you want to make that motion?
I just did.
Subject to the fire department providing a proposal to you guys next month?
I think our treasurers could get started on an escrow.
The escrow account should actually probably, following with the packet and some advice from the fire department, I don't know why the escrow account wouldn't get set up so that we can as quickly get this going so that whatever happens, even though
Like, if you do adopt or approve or whatever, get it set up and then get the escrow account, get it set up as to who's gonna do what. So.
As to the form, I have it pre-canned where I can enter on all the data of who you want contacted, print it, and then have whoever signed is determined. I think it's still on my computer.
That's, yeah.
My opinion, if you
You know,
do
it-
that and you assign, say, him as a point of contact being the fire marshal, then any of us can go out and inspect it and see if it's done and report back to him. We work as a team on this department, so we can all work together and leave one point. I think that's the fire marshal.
I'm pointing at the chief.
Whether we're involved with that end of it or not.
You're fine, Steve, we'll all do it like Chris said.
You know, the ultimate authority has to lie with the township and the township board, okay? Now, whether we're involved with it after that, that's up to
Well,
you.
I think it should be. That or somebody in a building, zoning administrator, or somebody that has knowledge about the buildings to see what they're doing with it.
But, you know, look, see what they've done, you know. And, you know, there's a timeline on it, you know, there's, I
to
think
get
it's
this
120
started, I
days.
would suggest that,
So, they're not doing anything we can move in and do.
I would suggest to get it started, to have the fire marshal be the point person through the fire department, and Melissa to be the point person to get the escrow account set up. And for the secondary signature on it, have it be the same as other warrants, and that would be signed by the clerk. That's how all checks go out now. That's how we should continue. We should not be changing processes midway.
We only need one person that the state wants to see as the main person.
That is
I
the main
just
point of
said that.
contact.
I know, but you mentioned 2 points of contact.
No, I said the point person was the fire marshal. The financial to go out and set up the escrow account was Melissa. To have a secondary signature on the account to be the clerk. That's what I said. I didn't say there's 2 point people. One, fire marshal.
We'll make this a roll call vote. Do you get the minute, or do you get the motion?
I just need a second.
I'll second it.
DeShano?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Davidson?
Yes?
Cruz?
Yes.
Class?
Yes.
Okay, Coquitlam River dredging. So since 2009, Bangor Township has been trying to dredge the Coquitlam mouth of the river, from the mouth of the river to Euclid Avenue. They needed somewhere around $600,000 to do it, and they were struggling to get the last couple $100,000 to finish the project. As of 1 o'clock today, before that, last road commission meeting, Bangor Township asked Coquitlam and Monitor if they'd be willing to maybe throw in $25,000 each, and Bay County Commissioners was agreeing to put in $125,000 to get the last $200,000 they needed. Well, as of 1 o'clock today, they've decided not to take out the footings and the abutments for the railroad bridge next to State Park Drive. So they have, the money that they have collected is enough money to dredge the river, and they're gonna go back and reevaluate and get bids on what it's gonna take to get that abutment out of there, so they can get started on dredging the river. So they don't need any money, so this here was too late to take off the agenda, but I'm not saying that a month or 2 months from now or 3 months from now when they get the bids, that they might ask Coquitlam to throw in $25,000 so the county will throw in their 120 to take out these abutments. So this is a mute issue as far as this meeting goes.
Temporarily on hold?
Temporary table, let's say. But I want you to know that it was still out, possibly out there. So they are going to dredge the river from the mouth of the river to Euclid Avenue. So any money they have left, apparently out towards the bay needs to be widened a touch at the Coquitlam River. So
So if they do decide to take those abutments out, will it be less than 25,000 any possibility, or will it be?
no, it'd probably be $200,000 taken out.
Oh, okay.
At least.
So the problem is if you're going to clean the river, the one abutment for the railroad bridge sits in the middle of the river. So I mean, the bottom line is it needs to be taken out. But to get the project going, they've taken it out of the project and going to get new bids for just working on that part of it. Is what I heard at 1 o'clock today.
You want me to fill in a little bit more in?
No.
Okay.
Until they decide what they're going to do next, it sounds like we're looking at maybe a, lack of a better word, a coalition, so that eventually the Coquitlam River needs cleaned. I mean, on 4 Mile Road by Beaver Road, they brought the Hamling drain in when the county drain commissioner cleaned it. The drain come in 1.5 feet below the Coquitlam River. So, trust me, I owned the house that lost 30 foot of bank because it come in at a curve And when we get 2 inches of rain, the Hamling drain puts so much stress on the curb, it washed the trees out, it washed the bank out,